What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Utah Airguns channel. Today we're doing another episode of our Airguns 101 series, and with this episode we are going to talk about 5 items that you should consider purchasing to kind of jump to the next level after you've got established with like your airgun, the air source, and optic, stuff like that, that will continue to help you progress in accuracy for competition or hunting or just generally a better experience while you're shooting your airgun. The first item is very affordable, and I think every airgunner should have this. It is an Air Marksman airgun cleaning kit. It's super simple. In it are cleaning patches, some ballistol, and a pull through. A lot of people think that air guns aren't burning powder, so you don't need to clean them, but you do. You're using lead, it's sliding down a tube, and it's going to leave lead deposits. Generally, you'll need to clean more frequently with a slug gun. That's just the nature of slugs. They're going a little bit faster and they aren't as forgiving as pellets because they don't have that skirt to kind of stabilize any inconsistencies in their ballistics or in their flight. So with my slug guns, I like to just run 3 or 4 patches through it every 200 rounds. It keeps my groups from opening up all of a sudden, and it keeps it super consistent. With a pellet gun, probably every 500, but maybe just start a cleaning schedule. It's just the first thing I do if my air gun's accuracy ever just drastically changes. I'll be shooting a one-hole group and then, throw 3 shots. I'm like, oh, I'm probably pretty leaded up, and I think about when I cleaned it last, and yeah, it was probably like 300 rounds ago. So this one is a must in my opinion, the Air Marksman cleaning kit. Guys, most of you aren't subscribed, so real quick, pause the video, go down and subscribe so you can keep up with the Airgun 101 series and anything else that we're going to be posting about very soon. So the second item is a chronograph. A chronograph tells you how fast your projectile is going. Essentially, that's the main function of a chronograph. How it's doing this is each of these is firing a radar out the back of the unit. And when you shoot your pellet past this chronograph, that radar is reflecting off the back of the pellet and sending it back to another sensor that's on the back of the chronograph, and it does a bunch of math and tells you exactly how fast it's going. And this is going to help you in a couple of different ways. One, if you want to do any kind of tuning to your gun, a chronograph is a must. You'll be able to see the consistency of your velocities, you'll be able to hit like target numbers, and you'll be able to plug in an exact number to whatever ballistic calculator you're using. So we've got a couple different options, and there's obviously more options than just these 3, but these are the ones that we've used a lot. The most affordable being the FX Pocket Chrono series. The chronograph itself can attach to a rail, or you can strap it to your barrel so it's right in line, and then you can either Bluetooth this to the phone app or have the digital readout module, and that can be attached to a rail as well, so it's actively feeding you velocities. So that is a very affordable option. The Garmin is the one that I use a ton. Super compact, super easy to set up. You basically just turn it on, select the velocity margins that you're going to be in, and then set it next to your gun. The FX True Ballistics is really cool because it's obviously portable, quick to set up, it's a little bit bigger, but this will actually give you a ballistic coefficient. If that's something that you need, or it's not on your pellet tin or whatever, you shoot a couple shots past this and it will give you a very accurate BC to plug into your ballistic calculator. The next item that I feel like is a pretty essential piece of kit, whether you're hunting or competing with air rifles, is a good rangefinder. This one is the Element Helix 1500. This one is really cool because it is super feature packed for how small and how affordable it is. It's going to give you a very accurate distance reading in either yards or meters. Another cool thing about the Helix 1500 is that it is also ballistic, and what that means is when you connect this to the Element Ballistics app and you plug in all your data, like your velocity from your chronograph, when you laze something, say you're shooting a prairie dog, you laze it, says 115 yards, it's going to not only give you the distance, but it's going to give you a firing solution. So it's going to say 150 yards based on the data that you plugged in, and you need to hold 3.6 mils to make a good first round impact on that. So getting something like that for this price is a super, super valuable tool that you can have, whether for competition or just for hunting or for fun. It's really cool to be able to just go whack and have instant data and get a first round impact. Nobody likes missing. First round impacts are probably they're my vice. That's what I really like. I chase that feeling all the time. So this is a super important piece of gear, and a rangefinder would be one of those essential things that I would highly recommend to get after you've gotten your air rifle. The next thing that I think is essential is a good ballistics calculator. So before we talk about the kinds of ballistic calculators, I just want to tell you what a ballistic calculator is. Essentially, it is a piece of software that when you provide some very specific data points, like your projectile weight, diameter, and velocity. The ballistic coefficient was just basically how fast your pellet is slowing down when fired at a certain speed, and some environmental variables like temperature, density, altitude, wind, stuff like that. When you plug all that into the ballistic calculator and you tell how far you want to shoot, it is going to give you a very exact firing solution. So what a firing solution is how much holdover you're going to need and how much you're going to need to hold into the wind of that certain shot. So now that I've explained what a ballistic calculator is, I'm going to show you two options that I have used a lot. The first one being the Element Ballistics app. This is free, so pause the video and go download it right now, because there's no reason why you shouldn't have this. So the Element Ballistics app is super cool because, like I said, you plug in all the data, and then when you plug in your distance and the wind and stuff that you want to shoot, it's going to give you a very precise firing solution. And the cool thing about the Element Ballistics app is it has a very big pellet library. So that takes out some of the guesswork when coming up with ballistic coefficient and weight. You just go into the library and you pick exactly the brand and model of the pellet or projectile that you're shooting. The other one is the Kestrel. So this is a Kestrel 5700 Elite. The difference between the Element Ballistics app and the Kestrel is that it has all of the weather sensors built in. You can get some of the environmentals from the app, but when what the app is doing is it is pulling those environmental variables from the nearest weather station when you have internet service. So it's kind of limited. And if that nearest weather station is at a different density altitude, that can greatly affect how accurate your firing solution is going to be. So it's still very good, but it has some limitations. I need to breathe for a second. Get on a roll and I'm like, the Kestrel, on the other hand, has all of those weather stations and weather sensors built in. It has a little impeller even to get an exact wind reading at the shooter. And one thing I recommend to make yourself a better shooter is when you have your Kestrel, just carry it around and look at the terrain features, the grass, the trees, dust around you, and take a guess on how fast the wind is moving. Then pull your Kestrel out, put it on the wind feature, and see exactly how fast it's going. And then you can kind of make the correlation to, okay, when I'm observing downrange and the grass, this kind of grass, taller grass, is leaning this far and whipping kind of that fast, it's an 8-mile-an-hour wind. And kind of make a mental note or a note in your data book to just understand that when you look downrange, you can understand what speeds of wind are influencing, terrain features and vegetation. So you can make a better downrange wind call, because this is really good to have a at the shooter wind call and gives you a very good baseline, but winds change and terrain is inconsistent. So you need to know how to read wind throughout the flight path of your projectile. Essentially, other than having all of the wind reading and environmental sensors, it's also a ballistic calculator. So it's going to apply all of those environmental variables to your firing solution. And it's also using a different software. The software that it is using is called Applied Ballistics, which is kind of the standard for ballistic solvers right now. It's the most trusted, it's used in the military, and it's extremely accurate. It's not saying the Element Ballistics app isn't accurate, it's still extremely accurate. But a Kestrel is something that I've been using for probably almost 10 years now, and I love it. It will absolutely elevate your shooting experience. You'll be able to hit things a lot farther and more consistently and on the first try. So a ballistic calculator is a must. The last thing on the list might be kind of unexpected, but if you've watched any of our hunting videos, you will see that we use tripods a ton. And a tripod is just going to give you that guaranteed steady firing position in any situation. We use them a ton when we go shoot prairie dogs because we're often standing. We need to be a little bit elevated, so because we can't just shoot through the grass, we need that little bit of elevation. We need to be able to lock our gun in. But there's a ton of different options for tripods. They can range from $200 all the way up to almost $2,000. So get the one that is going to fit your budget the best. And before you guys jump in and say, well, it takes the skill out of it, it doesn't. Good shooters use tripods. So That's just how it is. We use tripods in competition too. We use them in PRS. We use them in like my NRL hunter matches. A tripod is just one of those things that's going to make your shooting experience that much more enjoyable. Makes things a lot easier, more convenient, more steady. You'll make more ethical shots on game. You'll shoot more consistent competitions. They're just really nice to have. So that's why it's the last item on our 5 things to buy after you've kind of established yourself as an air gunner. All right, guys, so that's the end of this episode of Airguns 101. I hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, jump into the comments. Tell us if there's any other things that you feel are essential to buy after you've kind of gotten a good footing in air gunning. Like I said, you have your air source, you have your optic, your gun's tuned, shooting well. What are some things that really elevated your experience after you got established in air gunning? But guys, don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.